So what's good, TMG fam? It's your boy L and I'm back. And listen, man, I am so glad they made this video, right? Listen, since maybe middle school, maybe even elementary, definitely high school, we've always talked about the dinosaurs. I guess they have such a aura about them that they commanded so much attention that we never talked about pre-dinosaur. Like, what was going on, what the earth was like before dinosaurs. So this video right here, which is titled, "This is what the earth looked like before dinosaurs," is something that I'm interested in because I wanted to know before them, like, what was it like before they touched down and started wreaking havoc? You know what I'm saying? So we're gonna check this video out, man. Like I said, I'm excited because this interests me, as you already know. So if you're new, hit that subscribe button, join the fam, and let's check it out.
The Earth has changed so many times and transformed heavily from when it first formed. How life came from non-life is still a big scientific mystery. However, we do have a current best guess for the beginning of life on Earth, which we think is around 3.8 billion years ago. But before we get into that, let's start from the beginning and take a trip back in time. The Earth didn't always exist, and it wasn't always hospitable for life. Approximately 4.6 billion years ago, our solar system was just a cloud of dust and gas known as a solar nebula. And around 4.5 billion years ago, the solar system settled into its current layout. Earth's rocky core formed first with heavy elements colliding and binding together. Dense material sank to the protoplanet's center, and lighter material built up the crust. The Earth suffered a huge impact sometime during its formation that catapulted pieces of the young planet into space and formed the Moon, which took up orbit around the young planet. This was known as the Paleo-Archean era, when the Moon was still very close to Earth and likely caused huge tides of more than 300 meters high. Hurricane-force winds blasted through the planet, and the evolutionary process began.
And with that being said, man, please pray for everybody who was affected by that storm. What was it, Ian? Yeah, man, please pray. If you got family down there in Florida, man, check on them. Look out for your people, bro. You know what I mean? I've been doing that all week. Just seeing that tide, it just made me think of the hurricane, though. My bad. Back to it.
And likely caused huge tides of more than 300 meters high. Hurricane-force winds blasted through the planet, and the evolutionary process began. The new Earth was a hellish place during this time. The flow of the mantle beneath the crust caused the movement of large plates of rock on the planet's surface. Collisions of these plates created huge mountains and volcanoes that continually erupted, shooting out huge amounts of lava and gases, and the reefs were created in the oceans. At this time, the protoplanet barely had an atmosphere, but as the planet cooled, gravity captured those gases from the volcanoes. Water was deposited on Earth by collisions of many comets and asteroids. One other key thing for life to emerge on our planet, aside from water, is where it lies from its star, the Sun. Earth sits in what's called the Goldilocks zone, which puts it close enough to the Sun to allow liquid water to exist on the Earth's surface. Before life even began or had a chance on Earth, radiation from our star was the primary source of energy on our planet, just as it is today. The early Earth had very little oxygen, if any at all, and it's theorized that solar energy provided the jump start that transformed simple organic molecules into more complex ones, transforming them into the building blocks of biology and life. Life likely developed.
I know it's gonna be some religious people, and I'm not trying to infringe on your religion in no way, shape, or form, bro. You know what I mean? We just getting information from this perspective, because every now and then you have somebody in religion that want to challenge you and say this and that and third. I'm never trying to infringe on nobody's religion, bro. Your beliefs are your beliefs. We just want to hear from a scientific standpoint what could possibly be the evolution of this earth. You know what I mean? So,
the building blocks of biology and life. Life likely developed in undersea alkaline vents and was probably based on ribonucleic acid, a nucleic acid which is present in all living cells rather than deoxyribonucleic acid, an organic chemical containing genetic information and instructions for protein synthesis. At some point during this time, a common ancestor gave rise to two main groups of life, bacteria and archaea, although exactly how this happened is still uncertain. For billions of years, tiny microbes and single-celled organisms evolved and began feeding on methane around 3.6 billion years ago. And at the 3 billion year mark, evidence of viruses were found. However, some argue that viruses could be as old as life itself. Sometime during Earth's early history, the planet took a turn towards habitability when a group of microbes known as cyanobacteria evolved with the ability to turn light and water into energy and released oxygen in the process. Dissolved oxygen caused iron in the oceans to rust and sink to the sea floor, which formed striking red-banded iron formations. But between 2.4 and 2.1 billion years ago, something incredibly remarkable and disastrous took place in this early cycle of life. The poisonous waste produced by these evolved photosynthetic cyanobacteria, oxygen, built up in the atmosphere, causing anaerobic bacteria to die off, leading to the Earth's first mass extinction, which some call the Great Oxidation Event. How can oxygen be toxic, you might be asking? Oxygen became toxic because of the high levels and overwhelmed the natural antioxidant defense system of any living microbe or bacteria at the time. Basically, these cyanobacteria in the form of algae ate themselves to death and caused a global extinction. But the worst was about to come. Around 2.3 billion years ago, the Earth froze over as the possible result of the Great Oxidation Event, and volcanic activity on the planet slowed down. Over time, the ice melted, which resulted...
See, now that statement right there is what makes me nervous about global warming. Because the volcanic activity slowed down because it got cooler and everything cooled off. Now with it warming up, what are we more likely to start seeing a lot more of? Volcanic activity, which is why I keep looking at Yellowstone and paying attention to everything that's unthawing up under the ice and paying attention to what their discovery is. And we've already talked about how many volcanoes are underwater and stuff like that and up under that ice. So what could potentially we be should be preparing ourselves for? A lot more volcanic activity, bro. That statement right there proves it.
Ago, the Earth froze over as the possible result of the Great Oxidation Event, and volcanic activity on the planet slowed down. Over time, the ice melted, which resulted in more oxygen being indirectly released into the atmosphere. This gave way to the Neoproterozoic era, where protozoans such as Paramecium, amoebas, and Melanocerilium evolved. The first animal cells were different from plants, and these cells began feeding on plants and became the first herbivores. But during this era, the Earth froze again at least 2 more times, which stunted evolutionary development. However, life finds a way. And during this time, fungi, worms, and other small...
That statement, it does, man. Life always finds a way, man. It figures it out some kind of way, bro. That statement is so true.
Life finds a way. And during this time, fungi, worms, and other small bilaterally symmetrical animals survived and evolved. Fast forward to the Paleozoic era. Complex life forms began to develop, including fish, arthropods, mollusks, and echinoderms. Plants started to show up on the surface of the Earth, and air-breathing animals started to walk, crawl, and slither on land. Meanwhile, sharks, horseshoe crabs, and starfish began to fill the oceans. At the beginning of the Devonian period, insects started to take form, and ferns were the common land plant. A prehistoric, jawless fish with bony armor called the cephalaspis, and crabs, large sharks, hagfish, and ratfish evolved. This gave way to the Carboniferous period, where the climate on Earth was thought to be tropical, with little change during the seasons, and gave rise to a new wave of strange creatures. Plants covered the Earth during this time, and the organic deposits of plant debris formed the world's first coal deposits, which humans are still burning today. The growth of these forests increased oxygen levels in the atmosphere, which peaked to around 35% compared to the 21% it is today. This alone might explain the size of the giant creepy crawlies that emerged. Some animals and insects may have developed in water and grew bigger as a way to protect them.
Wait, I gotta hear that again. So you're saying the amount of oxygen contributed to the size of these dinosaurs, bro? No, I gotta hear that again. And then somebody gotta like give me some supportive facts of that.
In the atmosphere, which peaked to around 35% compared to the 21% it is today. This alone might explain the size of the giant creepy crawlies that emerged. Some animals and insects may have developed in water and grew bigger as a way to protect themselves against the high levels of oxygen at the time. One of those were giant insects called Meganeuropsis, which closely resemble modern-day dragonflies, had wingspans of 63 to 68 centimeters, and could be seen in the skies during this period. One incredibly...
You can't hit that with no fly swatter, bro. Fam!
Detailed fossil of a huge dragonfly that died 320 million years ago was discovered to have a wingspan of 0.75 meters. Deadly poisonous centipedes, 2 meters long, crawled around with mammoth cockroaches and scorpions as big as 1 meter long. Amphibians began to diversify, and reptiles evolved into forms much like modern-day lizards with a backbone, allowing...
Might as well call this like the steroid era, bro. This like animals was huge. Like, I get the dinosaurs were huge, of course, everything like that. But the stuff like dragonflies and everything that big, that's crazy. And it was all due to the amount of oxygen, bro. I'm still blown away by that. I've never heard that before.
Them to live and move on land. These amphibians were also huge, and some species were predatory, resembling modern-day crocodiles, armed with sharp teeth and reaching lengths of almost 6 meters long. And like modern-day crocodiles and alligators, some evolved to have a thicker, scaly skin, which solved the problem of their bodies drying out if they were out of the water too long. And for the first time, amphibians evolved to lay amniotic or air-breathing eggs on land. And that changed everything, since these animals could now live out of and away from water sources. The Carboniferous period gave way to the Permian period that began approximately 300 million years ago, just 50 million years before the dinosaurs. All the continents during this period existed as one large landmass called Pangea. The first large plant-eating and meat-eating animals evolved during this time. Some of these creatures could be mistaken for dinosaurs, but they were actually more closely related to mammals and reptiles. One of these bizarre creatures was Diplocerapsis. It looked a little like a salamander that averaged around 1 meter long, but its head was shaped like a boomerang. Another new reptile on the planet was the iconic Dimetrodon, which grew to about 5 meters long and had a large sail on its back, which is
Okay, we get your point, bro. You ain't gotta keep showing us in relation to our size, fam. You know what I mean? Because it just keep blowing my mind. I'm like, all right, I get it, fam.
Used to regulate its body temperature. During the Permian period, mammals were increasing in dominance. The biggest of these were creatures classified as Gorgonopsians, which were a class of giant bear-like animals that all had different teeth that were specialized for different functions. These animals could be either herbivores or carnivores and vary in size from less than 1 kilogram to more than 1 ton. One group of these creatures were known as cynodonts. Their name means dog-like teeth, and these animals had social behavior, and there is some fossil evidence that shows they hunted in packs. In the oceans, fish with true bony skeletons evolved. Sharks and rays flourished, as well as sponges and coral. On land, insects evolved with adapted mouthparts that allowed them to pierce and suck. But around 252 million years ago, the Permian era came to an abrupt end by a cataclysmic event that caused mass extinction. In 2001, scientists made a chilling discovery. A massive comet or asteroid, similar to the one that put an end to the dinosaurs, wiped out the giant reptile predecessors 200 million years earlier. But how did scientists come to this conclusion? Molecules of helium and argon gas were found locked in carbon in high proportions that could have only come from space. It's estimated that the asteroid or comet was between 6 and 12 kilometers wide in diameter. Researchers say the strike would have released the energy 1 million times greater than the biggest earthquake of the last century. Aside from this discovery, there's some evidence that current-day Siberia and China experienced volcanic eruptions on an unimaginably massive scale, and those eruptions created dust and ash clouds that blocked out sunlight. Not only that, but over 1 million years, 3 million cubic kilometers of lava poured out of the ground, covering the entire planet in a layer 10 meters thick. The asteroid impact, combined with volcanic activity, was the proverbial blast from a double-barreled shotgun.
So, with us destroying that asteroid last week, okay, we could possibly try to protect ourselves from stuff like that. May not be able to get all of them, we may get some of them. But what about the lava spewing out from the ground and everything like that? What is our plan for that? What can we do to... Like, how do we, you know what I'm saying? That right there. How do we stop that? What do we do to, nothing.
Planet in a layer 10 cubic kilometers of lava poured out of the ground, covering the entire planet in a layer 10 meters thick. The asteroid impact, combined with volcanic activity, was the proverbial blast from a double-barreled shotgun. The Earth was once again a very unhappy place. The combination of these two events resulted in what's called the Great Dying. 90% of all marine animals and 70% of all land animals that were alive during this time perished. It would seem like this would be the final chapter in the evolution of life on Earth, and it would be seemingly wiped out completely. But a new age would begin after this, and the age of the dinosaurs would begin. Would you like to see what happened after that great Permian extinction and how the great dinosaurs got their start? If so, let us know in the comments and make sure to stay tuned here, and we thank you for watching.
So now that y'all see why everybody's so up in arms about global warming, bro. You know what I mean? It's what it means for our planet, bro. What it means for our survival, our existence. You know? That ice start melting, all kind of things can be released. And then these volcanoes can become active again. Very, very active again. And we'd be in a lot of trouble, bro. A lot of trouble. So when you hearing them say, do your part, just do your part, bro. I'm trying to get better at that. But just try to do your part, bro. You know what I'm saying? We try to live as long as we can. Possibly. You know what I mean? But... y'all get at me in the comment section, man. Let me know what you thought of this amazing video, bro. The information is always great and appreciated. So, it's your boy L, man. Stick around and stay tuned. Till next one, I'm gone. Peace.